tell me something unique about your district or your school that maybe nobody else would know?
Oh, let's see here. So unlike many schools in the state of Illinois, we were actually growing like crazy. How about that?
Okay.
So most schools in the state of Illinois are losing students because we're having a lot of families leave Illinois. Mahomet-Seymour, on the other hand, is growing like crazy.
All right. That I'm sure that has its own challenges.
It does.
All right. So, oh, sorry. So let's start from the beginning. What it looked like before you met me and my company and the
sure. So I would say the summer of 2018, roughly, all of our student accounts and all of our provisioning was done manually, i.e. we got a list from our office personnel staff of like, these are the new students, or these are the students moving from one grade level to the next. And those accounts were all created by hand by somebody. Now, the trick for us was that we had about 3 or 4 different people all creating accounts. So what that looked like for us was that there was no standardization in terms of the naming conventions, the password conventions for those accounts. And so whenever we started looking with you guys, we discovered we had about, most of our students had about 4 accounts. And none of them knew which ones they wanted to utilize. And nobody knew which password to reset. And so it became chaotic in the sense that we would unlock one account and then the student would go, no, that's not the account that I was using. Well, which account were you using? Well, I don't really know. And so it was the Wild West, right? We had no control over how those accounts were created. And, as IT professionals, we really strive for standardization and control, right? And so that was something that was definitely something that we needed to get a hold of as soon as possible. So that the whole process was just done manually, right? We'd have somebody connect to Active Directory. And by the way, we didn't have Google Apps Directory Sync installed either. Okay. So we would have to create the accounts in Active Directory, but then we would also have to create them in Google Apps, which was a disaster. So.
All right. So how did you first hear about us? How did you even find me?
So it's a little bit of an interesting story. I was one day perusing the apps that were tied or associated with Clever.
Okay.
We were a Clever school back in 2018, but we really weren't utilizing any of their connections for different companies. And so I was scrolling through the apps and I was, on page whatever. And all of a sudden I come across this SPS K-12. Well, what is this? And the more I read, student provisioning and the automation of account creation. I was like, well, this is perfect. I'm already uploading all my data to Clever. All my student enrollment data and all that stuff that would be needed to create accounts with Active Directory and Google Apps. Well, why don't I, look into this? And so I submitted a request through the Clever portal to you, Keith, and here we are 3 years later. Very successful.
All right. So what would you say it's been like working with us?
So the best part, for the most part, is the set and forget, right? So we don't every single day. I don't have to look at our enrollment changes to figure out who's coming, who's gone, right? Every single day we get a new account or a new student that comes in or a student who leaves, and those accounts are just automatically added and disabled. That is huge for us, right? And we're not, one of those districts that have 10,000 plus students. We only have 3,300 students. And so whenever you amplify something like that to scale, no matter the size of the district, you're simplifying the process. And the big thing for us was, again, taking out the human element, right? Because that whole premise of we had 4 different versions of user accounts. So by just saying, you know what, we're going to allow automation to do the entire process for us, and it'll be the standard every single time. That's huge for us.
So you think what do you think is the most value? What, just that it's set it and forget and don't worry about it.
So, I mean, obviously that's huge importance. But the thing that I take away the most from this is that if, let's say, we have a new student enroll, for us, we automate our flow every 4 hours, right? So every 4 hours, we're checking to see if there's a new student enrolled. Obviously, we could do that more frequently, but we found that 4 hours is sufficient. But so within 4 hours of a new student enrolling, all their accounts are created and we're done, right? So
Okay.
that student is not missing any instruction. They are ready to go as soon as they're enrolled. That's huge, right? Like if you
Right.
stop and think about it, in the past, it could be weeks, it could be months before we got a student account created. But now it's within 4 hours. That's huge.
Great. So why should someone watch and take action instead of waiting?
So I don't know about you or other districts that are potentially watching this, but the more and the more that we do in our classroom is centered on, in some aspects, technology, right?
Right.
So all of our assignments, all of our lesson plans, our syllabi are all being posted online. Well, we need an account in order for that user or that student to gain access to that information. So we have to realize that the more and more of what happens in school is online or electronic, right? And
Right.
so when we stop and take a look at that, well, where's one of the bottlenecks that we have? One of those bottlenecks is the human element. And again, if we can eliminate the amount of time that it takes to create an account so that it just happens automatically, nobody has to think about it, that's huge.
Right. So if somebody wanted to chat with you or get some input from you, is there a good way to reach out to you? Where are you hanging out these days?
So the best way to get a hold of me is via my email, jlynn, JLYNN @ms.k12.il.us.
All right, great. Well, it's been great chatting with you. I appreciate you taking the time to join me on a call, and I really appreciate having you as a customer.
Well, Keith, it's the feeling is mutual.
All right, thank you.